Well, hey everybody, it's Joseph with the Mosquito Creek Lumber Company On30 Swamp Log and Railroad. Last video, we kind of put this makeshift temporary trestle supports underneath the flex track here. This will be a swamp area with very large old growth cypress. So this is going to be one of the key areas on the layout, and kind of will be very photogenic, I'm hoping. And this will lead us into the log landing area. So let's take a look at that. So real roughly, this is kind of a real quick sketch of what the log loading area will be. There'll be the trestle, as you see here, coming in. I had to buy a curved left-hand switch or turnout because I went through all my old turnouts and I have nothing but right-hand turnouts and no left-hand turnouts, so I had to go and buy one. And I'll convert that with larger ties, longer ties, and it'll make it blend in with the On30 track. Now coming off into this area here, that'll be a transfer spur where the log cars will be set out there, the empties. There's going to be a kind of a modified Griffin log loader. I'm going to do it a little bit different than the prototype, but the cars will run underneath it and go out onto a short section of trestle here. That's where the empties will be, and then as they're moved through, they'll get loaded and come into the small little yard here. Also in this area will be where the Caterpillar crawlers will bring their wagons filled with cypress logs and to be transferred by the loader from the cats and put onto flat cars. Another kind of cool thing that I'm going to do, which is prototypical, is a disconnected spur. A lot of times the short lines or logging companies would lay a turnout in here, shove a bunch of camp cars and saw filer cars and cookhouse and things like that onto a spur and then pull the switch out. And then they just kind of be stranded there. Why they took it out? Probably because they were going to be there for a while and it was less trouble maintaining points and the frogs and things on a spur. So that's going to be going in there. And then following the main line down, we're going to do another flip down track extension over in here. That'll go down and that'll give me a good, probably another couple cars and a locomotive's worth of extension. And then that'll come over to a runaround track, which will be to store the loads or empties as they come in and out of the log landing. One other little item that I'm going to do, I kind of did it on my other layout, but I'm going to have a trestle in this area that will kind of disappear off to the end as if it's going to another cutting area. And this will end up being the locomotive pocket that will be based here at the log landing. So that's a little bit of a rundown of this end of the layout. So we're starting to make some progress as we patch together the old parts of the Mosquito Creek Lumber Company. Kind of a Frankenstein looking thing right now, but we'll figure that out, get everything looking good. So there you go. Here's Mosquito Camp. Just a quick overview of that for you. Okay, I've got some newsprint that I've cut into a wide strip, kind of taped it together. And what I'm going to do is lay this over the track. Lay that over the track and tape it down just a little bit so it doesn't move too much while I'm tracing out the track. So this will give me an idea of the curvature of the trestle, and I can use this as a template when I go to build my trestle. A couple ways of doing it. You can just go along here and push down and get a good relief impression of the rails, or you can use a pencil and just go along the rail. So you can see just by sketching with the pencil, gives you a good idea where the rails are. And if you want, you can go along here and get where the ties are going to be. So continue on all that, and then we'll take it out to the workbench and cut it out and start laying out the stringers for our trestle. Okay, so here we are back out in the workbench, and here is my template that I've trimmed down very roughly and non-scientifically. But what I'm going to use this for is to use it as a template for making the curve for the stringers, coming around and getting that all glued together, and then we'll be underway in making a trestle. As much as I'd want to do this all in just one big piece, I think I'm going to cut it down into at least 2 sections, maybe 3, and that'll make it easier to manage and maybe keep the tangent track as one piece here, and then work the curve, because there'll be a lot of angled cuts there with the stringers. So that's probably what I'm going to do, and then put it back together once it's on the layout, and then put the track back over the top of it. So roughly the curve starts right about in here. So I think I'm going to use this as one section. That way I can use some straight stringers, and then when we come around here, then we'll have to do the angled pieces and get them in place. So just so you know, there is absolutely no prototype for this, and I'm just going to be winging it. Whatever looks good and was going to work out, that's what I'm going to go with. And then also, purists, look out, because I'm probably going to just mount the flex track right onto the deck of the trestle without laying rails. I think I'm going to go that route. It'll be a little bit easier, and it almost looks like that's what they did with that actual cypress logging, Louisiana cypress logging trestle that we saw at the very beginning of the video. The other thing is, I don't have any of these 1/4 inch scale 10 by 12 beams. I got a bunch of lots of stuff, but nothing long enough to do my trestle. So I'm going to have to go either to the hardware store or order some things online to get this for my stringers. And then I'll probably, this is, I believe, an 8 by 8. Let's see here. Roughly about an 8 by 8 post. And then I'll use these for the tops of my bents. The trestle is not going to be very tall, so I wanted to have that kind of fragile, flimsy, quickly made look that's typical of logging railroads that are pushing into an area until it's logged out, and then they tear everything out. The other thing we're going to have to do is make some stain to stain the wood. I always like to stain the wood first before cutting and gluing. So my go-to stain is shoe leather dye mixed with isopropyl alcohol and a few drops of dark gray in there to give it that kind of weathered creosote look. So we're going to mix up some of this first and then do some testing, and then we'll be ready to go when my trestle building materials get here. All right, let's mix ourselves up some stain. 91% isopropyl alcohol, or IPA, but not the kind that you can drink at the brewery. I'll make a fair amount because I do have a lot of staining to do, so that goes in. Open this up. This is just regular kiwi shoe dye, and this is just black. And we'll throw a little bit of that in there. And let's mix that up a bit. Doesn't take a lot of color to get a good stain going. And then just a little dollop. This is the way I cook too. So let's test that out. It might be just a little light, but I think not too bad. Get this out of the way so you can kind of see. I decided to add just a little bit more gray, and again, this is just dark gray. It's acrylic craft paint. Give that a little time to dry. Of course, different types of wood are going to take the stain differently. This is a balsa wood as opposed to the hardwood, and it's looking about the same. So that's good. And then move over, and these are some dowels that I'll be using for the trestle bent supports. Let's see, these are usually so hard. They're really hugely hard, and you can see that's not super taking it, so we might have to go over that a couple times.
That's the last story.